across, or it's like, not Plinko, but the game where you try to line the ball up.
Yeah.
So it lines up, knows where to go, goes to its home from Happy Gilmore. And so once change in permeability, depolarization leads to action potential, and start moving the muscle fiber. So this is going to say, all right, we need to move that muscle, and it causes that release of calcium. So neuromuscular junction, similar to other synapses, but it has three differences. Single presynaptic cleft leads to a postsynaptic cleft, and then a muscle fiber receives input from only one motor neuron. So calcium has two roles: facilitate the release of acetylcholine, and then also control the position of troponin off of tropomyosin. And then also action potential, remember, only moves in one direction. This is the whole action potential, start from the axon all the way to a action potential. So this is terminal branches, motor neuron fiber is attaching to this neuromuscular junction, myofiber with muscle fiber. You see here the synaptic cleft, and then the motor end plate. Acetylcholine is penetrating into the muscle fiber. And again, acetylcholine is excitatory, so it causes some sort of stimulus, some sort of reaction. It doesn't inhibit. Neurotransmitters, thought this would be easier to see. Sorry. 50 plus known, suspected. In science, we're always finding new things, but overall, at least 50 known ones. You have two major categories: small, rapid-acting, or large neuropeptides. Those are going to be slower acting. The ones we're going to deal with, again, another big test question within this course: acetylcholine and norepinephrine. If you see it in parentheses, it would be NE, but if you just see it in abbreviated NE, that's what it means, norepinephrine. They are going to be responsible for excitation, help with exercise. Quick review of the central nervous system. We've got the brain, principal parts. Within the brain, we have the cerebrum. Then we've got the diencephalon, a little deeper. Then we've got the cerebellum, sits behind the brainstem. And then branched off of that, coming down, we've got the spinal cord. It goes all the way down to the butt. So the frontal lobe of the cerebrum is a location for motor control functions, commands, feedback, process other parts of the brain. You've probably heard of the primary motor cortex. So cerebrum, and especially the frontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex, are very important for motor control, judgment, thoughts, putting together what you want to do, and can be impacted through a concussion, mild traumatic brain injury, and it's one of the reasons why certain tests, they look for that, see if that's been injured. You'll generally display different types of symptoms based on where in your brain you've been injured. Another reason why, big difference between your age group and say high school teenagers is not fully developed, and I think they say it doesn't really start to fully mesh until you're around early mid-20s. So another reason why car companies really don't want you renting cars until you're about 25, even though you're already legally able to drive.
They changed it because I rented one when I was 21.
You have to pay extra.
Oh, that's what it is? Oh.
They will rent to you, but yes.
I thought it was the same because I paid like $300 for the security deposit, and then you just pay like per day.
That's a lot.
But you get the security deposit back if the car's clean.
So it will. Yeah, there's a lot of research about what happens with prefrontal cortex and why you don't want to damage that. You also have pyramidal cell neurons, that also help control skeletal muscle. Basal ganglia, something we'll talk about too, that nerve clusters initiating sustained movement. That's all I'm going to really say. I don't want to go into too much depth. But the diencephalon is supposedly of the thalamus and hypothalamus. You've heard of hypothalamus. And the brainstem, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, those serve vital functions. And then last but not least, the spinal cord is involved in involuntary and voluntary. So that's where we've got our afferent and motor neurons. They send a message up through spinal cord, initiate response, and send it back down. It occurs very, very quickly, like we said, just milliseconds. So information is carried up and down the spinal cord through a series of tracts. It's a bundle of fibers. Okay. It is connected to the brain via the medulla oblongata. Breaking it down a little bit more, cerebrum, has two hemispheres, the right versus the left. The left side controls the right side of the body. The right side of the right hemisphere controls the other side. Connected by the corpus callosum. Sorry for this picture being a little blurry. Just trying to find something that would do well for this PowerPoint. And it allows communication, interhemispherical communication. So the cerebral cortex, outermost layer of the cerebrum, gray matter is made up mostly of fat, but it's non-myelinated. And then we have our conscious brain within the cerebral cortex, mind, intellect, and awareness. You've got billions and billions of brain cells. It used to be thought that once they're deadened, they won't regenerate and come back. But they're actually starting to do research and show that you can build new brain cells. It's generally thought that when you drink alcohol, because you starve them of oxygen, they die. Another reason why not to necessarily drink alcohol. But there is a growing body of research saying that you can regrow brain cells. You just want to keep as many of them as possible. So yeah, this is just an overview of the brain today. 5 lobes within the cerebrum. We have 4 superficial lobes. So we've got the frontal, where we think of motor control, just thought process. Then we have to the side, the temporal, and they make sense. It's located right around where you would find your ears. So we've got that sensory input, language, interpretation. And then superior to that, we've got the parietal lobe. You've got the sensory input, more interpretation going on. You'll generally have a strip that follows here. And if you damage that strip, damage certain parts of the brain, and it will affect sensory functions. Say the foot, the mouth, so you have to be very careful right through there. And then in the back, we also have the occipital lobe, visual input, interpretation with concussions, because we notice concussions more with a falling, with an impact. It doesn't even have to necessarily hit the ground, but even with a whiplash effect, because you have the brain sloshing back and forth against the skull, You just have to have some sort of impact against the occipital lobe. And a common symptom, if any of you have ever had a concussion, would be vision, blurred vision, those issues. And we know that vision is important in balance, so then balance is also affected. So there's obviously different ways that athletic trainers and doctors assess what all has been affected by a concussion. Then you also have a central deep lobe, more involved with perception and emotion. See right behind here, the cerebellum is below the cerebrum and just to the side of the brainstem and branch off into the spinal cord. So you've got midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. They carry on vital functions such as heart rate, respiration, just breaking it down. Regions of interest for exercise physiology: the primary motor cortex, which is part of the frontal lobe, conscious control of movement with muscles. Again, you just break it down: pyramidal cells, corticospinal tract, down to the spinal cord. So relays messages. Then you also have, like we said, with the cerebrum, mostly made up of gray matter. You also have within that the basal ganglia, which is white matter. And deep body cells, bodies that are deeper in the cerebral cortex, help with repetitive movements such as walking, running, posture, muscle tone. And you're starting to notice a trend. This is very complex. It's not just one area of the body that is coordinating all this. It's multiple areas of the body that have to work in conjunction. Yes, if you injure one part, you may have issues with certain movements, but they're all going to be, one might be impacted more than another, but it takes time, we'll say, with head traumas and with physical therapy. I was just reading with some new research about omega-3 being a polyunsaturated fatty acid, an essential one because we have to consume it, our body doesn't make it. But with mild TBI or even severe, doctors basically super dosing up to like 20 grams, and they show that it has some protective and rehabilitatory effects with of coming back from a concussion. It was actually pretty interesting research, just and it's more of a holistic approach, because generally when you're dealing with pharmacology, which is drugs, they're only going to have an effect on one enzyme, one certain thing, but omega-3s have so many different qualities they can do, antioxidant as well, that it's a new line of research trying to help with brain injuries. Very, very interesting. Next, we have the diencephalon. Mostly, you're going to think of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the epithalamus, but we'll pertain it more to the thalamus and the hypothalamus. So it's major sensory hypothalamus. Usually, if your AC switch, right, you may have heard referred to as that because it maintains homeostasis. So your body at rest, being comfortable, you start to get hot and sweaty. What's it going to do? Is it going to send a signal for you to start probably sweating to cool off? Yes. So it regulates your internal environment connected to the neuroendocrine system. And that is very, very complex and specific, but important for maintaining homeostasis. There are a lot of different chemicals and chemical reactions that take place in that, but they help maintain life for us. Then the cerebellum controls rapid, complex movements. This is, I'll explain what is going to be going on So it coordinates timing, sequence of movements, so it's nice, smooth, compares actual and intended movements, and will have any kind of correction. Body position, muscle status, and also see how we're going up the sensory tract, ties into our gamma motor neurons, dealing with muscle spindles, Golgi tendon organs. Those have much less myofilaments, which is why you only, those types of movements are more reflexive. So they're not sustained like you're trying to do a bicep curl or leg extension. They're more of a protective quality of the portion of the muscle. Okay, so they receive input from the primary cortex and help start that movement and refine it if there needs to be anything happen. So I'm going to quiz you, see if you can make sense of this. Mandy, which one of these, red or blue, is going to send the message up to the brain? Don't worry if you're wrong. Just what looks like it's sending a message?
Blue.
Up to the brain. Blue. It's actually red. Just right here. We'll see. Yeah, sorry. It's okay. So sensory cortex. And this is an intrafusal fiber. This is a muscle spindle. It is telling, say you're at the doctor's table and they're testing your knee reflex, boom. It's because it's afferent, sensory, sends it up the track, the dorsal root ganglion, I believe. And what it does, it sends up the spinal cord,